What if I told you that some of the world's oldest cities were built not just as places to live, but as intricate, functioning machines? Picture standing in the heart of an ancient metropolis where every stone, every corridor, and even the layout of the streets was designed with a purpose far beyond mere aesthetics. These cities weren't just homes for their inhabitants. They were feats of engineering so advanced that even today, we struggle to unravel all their secrets. From hidden waterways that defied the limits of their time to structures aligned with the stars with uncanny precision, these places were crafted by minds that saw the world in ways we're only beginning to understand. Think about the last time you walked through a modern city with its towering skyscrapers and sprawling infrastructure. Now, rewind the clock 2,000 years or more and imagine a civilization achieving similar or even greater sophistication without the technology we take for granted. These ancient builders didn't have computers, drones, or advanced machinery. Yet they created urban landscapes that functioned like clockwork. Some cities had drainage systems so efficient they're still operational today. Others were designed to harness the power of the wind, the sun, or even seismic activity, turning the very earth beneath them into part of their grand design. How did they do it, and why do so many of these mechanisms remain shrouded in mystery? That's exactly what we're about to uncover. Over the course of this journey, we'll explore 24 of these astonishing cities, each one a testament to human ingenuity and a puzzle waiting to be solved. You'll see how their creators thought in ways that blur the line between architecture and artistry, between science and spirituality. Some of these places were lost to time, buried under layers of history until modern explorers stumbled upon their hidden mechanisms. Others have stood in plain sight for centuries, their true purpose only revealed by the sharpest eyes and the most curious minds. So, if you've ever wondered how the past could hold so many unanswered questions, get ready, because what you're about to discover might just change the way you see ancient history forever. To grasp just how advanced these ancient machine-like cities were, let's take a closer look at what made them tick. Imagine a metropolis where every street wasn't just a path for people, but a carefully calculated artery directing airflow to cool buildings naturally. Or a temple positioned so precisely that sunlight would illuminate its inner chamber only on the solstice, like a celestial spotlight. These weren't happy accidents. They were the result of meticulous planning, where form and function intertwined seamlessly. Take, for example, the way ancient engineers mastered water distribution long before modern plumbing. In places like Mohenjo-Daro, part of the Indus Valley civilization, archaeologists uncovered a grid of baked brick drains and wells so sophisticated they rival early 20th century systems. The entire city sloped gently to guide wastewater away from homes, while fresh water flowed through channels designed to minimize contamination. This wasn't just infrastructure, it was a living, breathing hydraulic network that sustained thousands of people over centuries. Then there's the way these cities harnessed natural forces. In Petra, the Nabateans carved an entire metropolis into rose-colored cliffs. But their real genius lay in hidden water channels that captured scarce desert rainfall. They funneled every drop through a network of cisterns and tunnels, turning an arid landscape into a thriving oasis. Meanwhile, in ancient Rome, the Pantheon's oculus wasn't just a dramatic opening. It acted like a sundial, tracking time as sunlight moved across its marble floors. What's truly remarkable is how these designs served multiple purposes at once. A city's alignment with the stars might have honored the gods while also helping farmers predict planting seasons. Walls designed to amplify sound could carry a priest's voice to crowds or double as early warning systems for approaching storms. Every element was a puzzle piece in a larger, interconnected system, proof that these civilizations didn't just build cities. They engineered ecosystems in stone, and perhaps the most fascinating question isn't just how they achieved this, but why. Were these designs purely practical, or did they reflect a world view where the physical and spiritual were inseparable? When a Babylonian ziggurat steps mirrored the phases of the moon, was it astronomy, religion, or both? The answers may be lost to time, but the legacy of these machine cities challenges us to rethink what ancient societies were truly capable of and what we might still learn from their forgotten blueprints. Among these ancient machine cities, few are as striking as Mohenjo-Daro, a hydraulic wonder that thrived over 4,000 years ago in what is now Pakistan. This wasn't just a settlement, it was a meticulously engineered system where water flowed with almost mathematical precision. Picture walking down wide, straight streets lined with baked brick buildings, each one connected to an underground network of drains so advanced they wouldn't look out of place in a modern city. Every home had its own bathing area, and wastewater didn't just disappear into the ground. It was channeled through covered sewers that ran beneath the streets, ensuring cleanliness on a scale unmatched for millennia. What makes Mohenjo-Daro truly extraordinary isn't just the presence of these systems, but the sheer consistency of their design. The entire city followed a grid pattern, with main avenues running north-south and east-west like the lines on a blueprint. Each block was uniform, each drain sloped at just the right angle to keep water moving. Even the bricks were standardized, their dimensions so precise that archaeologists suspect they were mass-produced using molds. This level of organization suggests a society that didn't just value order but depended on it. Then there's the Great Bath, a monumental public pool lined with waterproof tar and fed by an elaborate system of pipes and drains. Was it purely for ritual, or did it serve some deeper engineering purpose? Some researchers believe the bath might have been part of a larger water management system, perhaps even regulating groundwater levels across the city. Others point to the hundreds of wells scattered throughout Mohenjo-Daro, each one carefully positioned to provide fresh water without contaminating the supply. The real mystery, though, lies in how they achieved all this without the tools we'd consider essential today. No metal levels, no detailed maps, no industrial machinery, just human ingenuity and an almost supernatural understanding of physics. Some theories suggest they used simple but effective tools like plumb bobs and measuring cords, while others speculate that their knowledge of hydraulics came from generations of observing natural water flow. Perhaps most intriguing is what we still haven't uncovered. Less than a third of Mohenjo-Daro has been excavated, and some archaeologists believe the city's most sophisticated mechanisms might still lie buried. Could there be reservoirs, filtration systems, or even early pumps waiting to be discovered? For now, Mohenjo-Daro remains a testament to a civilization that saw water not just as a resource, but as the lifeblood of their machine-like city, a reminder that the ancient world's engineering prowess might still hold secrets we've yet to imagine. From the hydraulic precision of Mohenjo-Daro, we journey now to the sun-drenched island of Crete, where the ancient city of Knossos unfolds like a living puzzle. Unlike the rigid grids of other ancient cities, Knossos embraced curves and complexity, its corridors twisting and turning in a deliberate dance of stone. Walking through its ruins, you can almost feel the intentionality behind every archway and staircase, as if the entire city were a single, breathing organism. At the heart of Knossos lies its legendary palace, a multi-level marvel that seems to defy logic. staircases lead to unexpected chambers, light wells funnel sunlight deep into windowless rooms, and walls curve in ways that suggest more than just architectural flair. Some scholars believe this labyrinthine design wasn't accidental. It may have served as both a ceremonial space and a practical solution to the challenges of Mediterranean living. The palace's advanced ventilation system, with carefully placed shafts channeling cool sea breezes through its corridors, hints at a mastery of passive climate control millennia before modern engineering. Then there's the matter of the light wells, strategically positioned to illuminate even the deepest recesses of the palace. These weren't just aesthetic choices. They functioned like natural skylights, reducing the need for torches and ensuring a constant flow of fresh air. In the sweltering Cretan summers, this would have made the palace not just habitable but comfortable, a feat of environmental engineering that rivals today's green buildings. But the most tantalizing question remains: was Knossos designed to mimic the mythic labyrinth of the Minotaur? Some researchers argue the city's winding layout could have served a dual purpose, confusing invaders while guiding initiates through ritual spaces. The way sound travels through its corridors adds weight to this theory. Whispers in one chamber might carry clearly to another, suggesting acoustics were part of the design. Whether sacred theater or ingenious fortress, Knossos stands as a testament to a civilization that blurred the line between myth and machinery, creating a city that didn't just exist but performed. And yet, for all we've uncovered, Knossos still guards its deepest secrets. Unexcavated sections of the city may hold clues to how the Minoans managed water, waste, or even energy flow, questions that could rewrite our understanding of ancient urban planning. For now, its twisting passages remain a silent challenge, daring us to unravel the intentions of the minds that built this stone symphony. Leaving behind the twisting corridors of Knossos, we arrive at the vast plains of central Mexico, where Teotihuacan rises from the earth like a stone echo of the cosmos itself. This city doesn't just sit on the landscape, it converses with it, every structure positioned with such celestial precision that walking its streets feels like stepping into a living star chart. The Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, these aren't just monuments. They're cogs in a grand astronomical machine, each one aligned to solstices, equinoxes, and the movements of planets with an accuracy that still baffles modern researchers. Take the Avenue of the Dead, the city's central spine. It doesn't run north-south as you'd expect, but at an angle of 15.5 degrees east of true north. Why? Because when you stand at the southern end during certain celestial events, the Pleiades star cluster appears to sink directly behind the Pyramid of the Sun, as if the avenue were a runway guiding cosmic energy into the heart of the city. Even more astonishing, the entire layout mirrors our solar system's proportions. The distances between pyramids correspond to the relative spacing of planets like Venus and Mars. Was this coincidence, or did the Teotihuacanos possess astronomical knowledge we've only rediscovered in the last few centuries? Beneath the surface, the mystery deepens. Recent excavations revealed a network of hidden tunnels lacing the city like veins, some filled with liquid mercury, others lined with mirrors of polished pyrite. These weren't mere passageways. They may have served as symbolic portals to the underworld, or even as resonant chambers to amplify rituals. One tunnel beneath the Feathered Serpent Temple aligns with the setting sun on specific dates, casting beams of light that illuminate hidden carvings only visible for those few moments each year. It's as if the entire city were designed not just to mark time, but to perform it, with celestial events triggering architectural revelations. And then there's the enigma of the missing builders. Unlike other ancient sites, Teotihuacan left no written records, no king lists, no clear pantheon of gods. the people who engineered this celestial marvel vanished, leaving behind a city so advanced that later civilizations like the Aztecs believed it was built by giants. Today, archaeologists still debate whether Teotihuacan's alignments were purely scientific, deeply spiritual, or something beyond our modern categories altogether. What's certain is that every stone here holds intention. The pyramid of the sun's base perimeter equals exactly 1,000 meters, a measurement that corresponds to sacred numbers in Mesoamerican cosmology. The way shadows crawl across its steps during equinoxes creates the illusion of a serpent slithering down its face, a phenomenon replicated in temples across Central America centuries later. This wasn't just city planning, it was celestial choreography, a dialogue between earth and sky encoded in geometry. As laser scans now reveal chambers still untouched beneath the pyramids, one question lingers: are we deciphering an ancient observatory, or standing inside a device so vast we've yet to grasp its full function? Teotihuacan whispers that perhaps the greatest machines aren't made of gears and wires, but of stone, shadow, and the patient movements of the stars. Descending into the depths of Cappadocia's Derinkuyu feels like stepping into an ancient survival bunker designed by geniuses. This isn't just a few tunnels or caves, it's an entire underground metropolis, stretching 18 levels deep into the volcanic rock, with space for 20,000 people and their livestock. Picture a labyrinth where every corridor, every stairwell, every air shaft was carved with such precision that the city could sustain itself for months, even years, completely cut off from the surface. The moment you see one of those massive circular stone doors, each one weighing up to half a ton, yet balanced perfectly to roll shut with a gentle push, you realize this wasn't just a refuge. It was a fortress. The true marvel isn't just the scale of Derinkuyu, but how its builders solved the problems of underground living centuries before modern engineering. Take the ventilation system. Shafts up to 180 feet tall funneled fresh air to even the deepest chambers, while cleverly designed chimneys ensured smoke from cooking fires escaped without choking the inhabitants. Then there's the water supply. Deep wells tapped into underground aquifers, bypassing the need to venture above ground during sieges. Even the temperature remained a constant 59 degrees year-round, thanks to the insulating properties of the soft volcanic tuff. But why go to such extremes? The answer lies in Cappadocia's turbulent history. This region was a crossroads of empires, vulnerable to invasions by Persians, Macedonians, and later Arab armies. The rolling stone doors weren't just barriers, they were choke points, designed so that even if attackers breached one, defenders could flood the tunnel behind them or trap them in kill zones. Some passages were intentionally narrow, forcing invaders to crawl single file, while hidden escape routes allowed residents to flee or counterattack. What's truly remarkable is how Derinkuyu's design reflects an almost prophetic understanding of human behavior. Storage rooms were placed near the surface, where grain could stay dry, while wine presses and stables sat deeper down. Communal spaces like churches and schools were centralized, creating hubs where morale could be maintained during long sieges. Every detail suggests a society that didn't just anticipate threats, they engineered around them, turning vulnerability into advantage. Yet mysteries remain. How did they carve so precisely without modern tools? Some theorize they used hardened metal picks or even fire to fracture the rock, but no definitive evidence has surfaced. And why build multiple subterranean cities? Derinkuyu connects to others via miles of tunnels unless they expected threats beyond occasional raids. The sheer redundancy hints at preparation for something far more catastrophic. Though whether it was war, climate shifts, or something lost to history, we may never know. Today, less than half of Derinkuyu has been explored. laser scans suggest entire chambers still lie buried, possibly containing workshops, temples, or even more sophisticated engineering feats. Standing in its shadowy passages, you can't help but wonder, were these ancient builders just hiding from danger, or were they crafting something far more ambitious, a blueprint for survival that could outlast empires? The city of Hattusa doesn't just whisper its secrets, it projects them. Imagine standing in the great temple's central chamber, where a hushed prayer uttered near the altar could be heard clearly 60 feet away, as if the very stones were amplifying the sound. This wasn't accidental architecture. The Hittite builders crafted these spaces with an almost supernatural understanding of acoustics, turning solid rock into a resonant instrument. Every curve of the walls, every angle of the vaulted ceilings worked in harmony to bend sound waves with precision that would challenge modern concert hall designers. What makes Hattusa's acoustics even more remarkable is how they serve dual purposes. In the Temple of the Storm God, whispers between priests could travel undisturbed across sacred spaces, possibly for divination rituals where clarity was divine. But step outside, and you'd find the same principles applied to the city's formidable defenses. The sloping stone walls weren't just barriers. They acted like early warning systems, capturing and carrying the faintest echoes of approaching armies long before they appeared on the horizon. A sentry's murmur about movement in the valley could ripple through the city's stone veins, giving defenders precious time to prepare. The engineering behind this sonic mastery remains partially shrouded in mystery. Archaeologists have noted how the Hittites selectively used specific types of limestone and basalt, materials known for their resonant properties in key structural points. Doorways were aligned to create sound channels, while niches in the walls may have functioned as natural amplifiers. Some theories suggest they even embedded hollow ceramic vessels within the walls to enhance resonance, a technique later seen in medieval European cathedrals. Yet Hattusa's brilliance didn't stop at sound. The city's 6-mile-long walls, punctuated by over 100 towers, were engineered to dissipate seismic shocks, a necessity in earthquake-prone Anatolia. The masonry used a unique cyclopean style, with irregularly shaped boulders fitting together so tightly that not even a blade could slip between them. This wasn't just construction, it was adaptive engineering where every element served multiple functions: defense, stability, and even acoustics. The lingering question isn't just how they achieved this, but why sound played such a central role in their urban design. Were these acoustic effects purely practical, or did they reflect a worldview where spoken words held tangible power? When a king's decree could travel unimpeded through stone, was it mere convenience, or a way to manifest authority through what seemed like supernatural means? Today, as laser scans reveal hidden chambers beneath Hattusa's ruins, researchers suspect there may be more undiscovered acoustic networks woven into the city's bones. Perhaps the most haunting thought is that we're only hearing fragments of what this ancient machine city was truly capable of, like an echo fading before we can grasp its full meaning. Beneath the towering spires of Angkor Wat lies a hidden world of liquid engineering so vast it rivals the temples above. This wasn't just a sacred city, it was a hydrological masterpiece where every canal, reservoir, and moat functioned like the veins of a living organism. Picture a landscape where water didn't just flow, it was orchestrated, channeled through a network so precise it could sustain 1 million people in an environment alternating between monsoons and drought. The temples may draw the eye, but the real genius of Angkor Wat is buried in its earthworks, a system so advanced that modern LiDAR scans keep revealing layers we never knew existed. Take the West Barre, a rectangular reservoir stretching 5 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. This wasn't just a glorified pond. It was a calibrated water tank designed to store monsoon rains and release them gradually during dry months. But here's what's astonishing. The entire city was built on a gentle slope, with canals positioned to use gravity alone to distribute water evenly across thousands of acres of rice fields. The Angkor engineers didn't just tame water, they turned it into a clockwork system where seasonal floods became a resource rather than a threat. Recent LiDAR surveys peeled back the jungle canopy to expose even grander secrets. Hidden canals spiderweb beneath the soil, some aligning with celestial events like solstices, while others connect to temple moats in patterns that suggest ritual significance. One newly discovered channel runs straight as an arrow for over 12 miles, its banks lined with laterite blocks cut to millimeter precision. Was this a practical aqueduct or part of a symbolic river of heaven mirroring the Milky Way? The answer might be both, an example of how Angkor's builders blurred the line between utility and cosmology. Then there's the mystery of the Ko-Kur Pyramid, 30 miles northeast of Angkor Wat. For centuries, historians assumed it was an isolated rival capital, but LiDAR revealed a buried canal linking it directly to Angkor's water grid, proof that even seemingly separate sites were cogs in the same hydraulic machine. This wasn't just infrastructure, it was a statement of power, demonstrating how control over water meant control over life itself. What's truly humbling is realizing how little we still understand. Some canals show evidence of sluice gates and weirs that could redirect water in seconds, yet we've found no trace of the tools used to operate them. Others contain sediment patterns suggesting they were periodically scoured clean. But how? The absence of erosion hints at techniques for stabilizing earthen banks that modern engineers are only now rediscovering. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't how this system worked, but why it ultimately failed. Climate records show a series of mega monsoons in the 14th century that may have overwhelmed even Angkor's brilliant designs. Walking through the ruins today, you can't help but wonder, were these channels just water management, or the physical expression of a philosophy that saw rivers as divine and engineering as a sacred act? As archaeologists keep mapping the buried veins of this ancient machine city, one truth becomes clear: Angkor Wat's greatest temple wasn't made of stone. It was made of water. The stone walls of Great Zimbabwe rise from the African savanna like a silent symphony in granite, each block fitted together so perfectly that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. What's truly astonishing isn't just that these dry stone structures have endured for over 7 centuries without mortar, it's that some sections seem to breathe, shifting ever so slightly with the seasons. Watch closely during the midday heat, and you might spot gaps between stones widening by a hair's breadth, only to close again as evening cools the rock. This isn't erosion or instability, it's a feature, not a flaw. The builders likely accounted for thermal expansion, crafting walls that flex rather than fracture under the sun's relentless rhythm, an innovation modern engineers would call thermal jointing, perfected here long before the term existed. But the genius of Great Zimbabwe extends far beyond its adaptive masonry. The city's entire layout reads like a carefully calibrated trade machine. Nestled between gold-rich highlands and ivory-dense lowlands, its concentric rings of walls weren't just defensive barriers, they were economic filters. Outer walls funneled merchants along specific paths, past checkpoints where goods could be taxed and regulated, while inner sanctums protected elite trading partnerships. The famous conical tower at the heart of the complex wasn't merely symbolic. Its position aligns with sightlines to distant hills, possibly serving as a navigational beacon for caravans approaching from all directions. Then there's the mystery of the acoustics. Certain passageways between walls create unexpected echoes, amplifying footsteps or voices in ways that would have allowed sentries to monitor movement without direct line of sight. Was this auditory surveillance system intentional? The way sound bounces off these angled walls feels too precise to be accidental. Even the choice of stone plays a role. Granite's natural resonance could have turned the entire city into a kind of sonic early warning network. What's most striking is how every element served multiple purposes. The same walls that regulated trade also channeled cool breezes through living spaces, while their imposing height created microclimates shielding courtyards from dust storms. The builders didn't just construct barriers, they engineered environmental controls, economic hubs, and security systems all in one. Yet for all we've deciphered, Great Zimbabwe still guards its deepest secrets. Why do some walls emit faint metallic echoes when struck, as if hiding voids or embedded objects? How did builders transport and shape these massive stones without metal tools? And what knowledge vanished with the civilization that designed this stone symphony? As thermal imaging now reveals hidden chambers beneath the ruins, we're left wondering if we've only glimpsed the surface of an ancient machine whose full purpose remains just out of reach. At first glance, Petra's treasury seems like a miracle carved directly into rose-colored cliffs, but look closer during the winter solstice, and you'll witness something even more extraordinary. As dawn breaks, a narrow beam of sunlight slips through the canyon's narrow opening, traveling like liquid gold across the rock face until it pierces the treasury's central doorway. For precisely 22 minutes, the inner chamber glows as if lit from within, illuminating carvings that lie in shadow the rest of the year. This isn't just a happy accident of architecture. It's a solar alignment so precise that modern engineers have calculated it required the builders to account for the canyon's elevation, the Earth's axial tilt, and even atmospheric refraction. The deeper you explore Petra, the more these light-driven designs reveal themselves. The monastery, another monumental facade carved high in the mountains, aligns with the summer solstice sunset, bathing its entrance in fiery light when days are longest. Nearby, the street of facade's tombs are positioned at angles that catch morning sunlight in specific sequences, almost like a stone sundial marking the passage of hours. Even the city's famous water channels may have doubled as light guides. Some narrow sections funnel sunlight into tunnels at certain times of day, creating moving pools of illumination that could have served as natural timekeepers. What's truly remarkable is how these solar features served both practical and sacred purposes. The Nabateans who built Petra worshipped deities linked to celestial bodies. The solstice illuminations likely transformed ordinary stone into sacred space during key rituals. Yet the same alignments also had mundane benefits. The treasury's winter illumination coincides with the coolest months, allowing precious warmth to penetrate deep into the rock chambers. The city's orientation even takes advantage of solar heating in winter and natural shade in summer, regulating temperatures without a single mechanical device. Recent 3D mapping has uncovered even more sophisticated designs. Some tombs contain hidden shafts that channel sunlight to specific carvings only on equinoxes, while others have ceiling holes that project star patterns onto floors during lunar events. One theory suggests the entire city was laid out as a massive calendar, with solstice markers helping coordinate agricultural cycles and trade caravans across the desert. The lingering mystery isn't just how the Nabateans achieved such precision, but why they invested such effort in these solar mechanisms. Were they honoring gods, mastering time, or demonstrating power through celestial mastery? As laser scans now reveal previously unnoticed chambers aligned with planetary movements, Petra continues to whisper that its greatest treasures might not be the facades we see, but the hidden relationships between stone, light, and the turning of the earth. Rising from the golden sands of central Iran, Yazd's skyline bristles with towering sentinels of ancient ingenuity, windcatchers that transformed blistering desert air into cool relief centuries before electricity made it commonplace. These aren't just decorative pillars, they're masterpieces of passive climate control, each one a carefully engineered conduit between the scorching earth and the merciful winds above. Picture standing beneath one of these towering structures as it silently pulls down a breeze from high altitudes, channeling it through clay ducts that naturally humidify and cool the air before it spills into homes below. The temperature drop isn't subtle. It can plummet by as much as 20 degrees, turning sweltering rooms into oases without a single watt of power. The secret lies in the windcatcher's precise orientation and design. Some face prevailing winds head-on, their open tops acting like sails to capture every whisper of moving air. Others use pressure differentials. Hot air rising through one side creates suction that pulls cool air in from another. The most sophisticated even have adjustable internal flaps, allowing residents to fine-tune airflow like ancient thermostat dials. And it wasn't just about comfort. These systems preserved perishables in underground storage chambers called yakchuls, where ice could remain frozen even in midsummer. But Yazd's brilliance extends beyond individual towers. The entire city was planned as a cohesive cooling machine. Narrow, winding streets create shade while maximizing airflow, and buildings cluster in ways that cast cooling shadows on one another. Even the construction materials play a role. Thick mud brick walls absorb heat by day and release it slowly at night, while rooftop pools help humidify dry desert air. Together, these elements form an ecosystem of temperature regulation that modern architects are only now rediscovering as sustainable design. What's truly remarkable is how these innovations reflect deep ecological wisdom. The windcatchers don't just cool, they filter with built-in mesh screens that keep out dust and insects. Water channels running beneath homes double as coolant systems, their evaporation adding moisture to the air. Every element serves multiple purposes, minimizing waste in a landscape where resources were precious. Yet for all we've decoded, mysteries linger. Some windcatchers align with celestial events, suggesting they may have served ceremonial roles alongside practical ones. Others connect to networks of underground tunnels that might have distributed cool air across entire neighborhoods. With much of Yazd's ancient infrastructure still unmapped, who knows what other eco-innovations lie buried beneath these sun-baked streets? Standing in Yazd today, you realize this isn't just ancient engineering. It's a conversation with the environment, a reminder that the most elegant solutions often come not from dominating nature, but from listening to it. As modern cities grapple with climate challenges, these millennia-old towers whisper that sometimes the future looks a lot like the past. Carcassonne's double walls rise from the French countryside like the interlocking teeth of some colossal stone jaw, designed not just to withstand attacks but to consume them. Step inside this medieval fortress city, and you're walking through a masterclass in defensive engineering where every curve in the ramparts, every twist in the alleyways, was a calculated trap waiting to be sprung. The outer wall stands lower than the inner, a deliberate choice that forced attackers to clamber up exposed ladders only to find themselves pinned between two lines of archers. Even the cobblestones underfoot were part of the design, laid at angles that made charging uphill nearly impossible while giving defenders stable footing to rain down arrows or boiling pitch. But the real genius lies in the details most visitors miss. Notice how the gates aren't aligned. Each entrance zigzags through multiple choke points, eliminating any chance of a battering ram gaining momentum. Towers weren't spaced randomly. Their positions created overlapping fields of fire, ensuring no blind spots where invaders could take cover. and those picturesque wooden roofs. They were designed to be quickly dismantled during sieges, removing flammable materials while providing piles of debris to hurl onto enemies below. This wasn't just a city that could endure attacks, it was a machine engineered to turn every assault into a slaughter. What's truly remarkable is how Carcassonne's designers anticipated psychological warfare as much as physical combat. The inner wall's sheer height wasn't just for protection, it was a visual deterrent. Looming over would be invaders to crush morale before the first arrow flew. Murder holes in the ceilings of gateways served dual purposes, dropping rocks on attackers while amplifying the screams of the wounded into echoing warnings. Even the concentric layout played mind games. Advancing through each successive ring gave invaders the illusion of progress, only to find themselves funneled into ever more deadly kill zones. Modern military historians still marvel at the redundancy built into every element. If one wall section fell, counterweights could collapse pre-weakened arches to seal breaches. Underground cisterns ensured water supply during prolonged sieges, while hidden sally ports allowed defenders to launch surprise attacks before vanishing back into the stone maze. The city's very shape, a near-perfect oval, eliminated weak corners where siege engines could concentrate their force. Yet the lingering question isn't just how they built it, but how they thought. Without formal engineering training, Carcassonne's planners visualized complex geometries of death, anticipating attack vectors centuries before computer modeling. Walking its ramparts today, you can almost hear the whispers of medieval strategists debating sightlines and fallback positions, not just building walls, but choreographing an entire ballet of violence where every step was predetermined. Nowhere is this foresight more chilling than in the Tour de l'Inquisition. Its staircase spirals clockwise as you ascend, forcing right-handed attackers to swing swords against the central pillar while defenders above had full range of motion. Such subtleties reveal a mindset that didn't just react to threats, it predicted them down to the dominant hand of an enemy swordsman. As drone surveys now reveal buried tunnels connecting key towers, we're left wondering, did Carcassonne's builders leave even more secrets waiting beneath these stones? Perhaps the ultimate lesson of this fortress city isn't in its towering walls, but in the sheer depth of human ingenuity when survival hangs in the balance. High above the Tagus River, the medieval city of Toledo hid a secret beneath its labyrinthine streets, an underground network of water clocks so precise they orchestrated daily life like the gears of some great invisible machine. These weren't just timekeeping devices, they were hydraulic marvels using gravity-fed channels to power intricate mechanisms that rang bells at market openings, signaled prayer times, and even synchronized the closing of city gates at sunset. Imagine standing in the Plaza Mayor as a sudden cascade of water triggered a bronze hammer to strike a bell overhead, marking noon with a resonance that echoed through every alleyway. This wasn't just punctuality, it was automation on a civic scale centuries before the Industrial Revolution. The genius of Toledo's water clocks lay in their adaptability. Some used floating indicators on calibrated scales to track hours, while others relied on carefully measured reservoirs that took exactly 12 hours to empty. The most sophisticated employed a series of gears and escapements, precursors to those in mechanical clocks, regulated by the steady drip of water through porous ceramic valves. What's astonishing is how these systems were maintained. Archival records suggest a guild of clock keepers who adjusted flow rates seasonally, compensating for temperature changes that affected water viscosity. But the real mystery isn't just how these clocks worked, it's what else they might have controlled. Recent excavations near the Alcazar revealed stone channels aligning with the locations of long-vanished public fountains, suggesting the same hydraulic network may have powered automated water displays during festivals. Some scholars speculate about singing statues that could have used water pressure to produce musical tones, similar to Byzantine automata described in contemporary texts. Even the city's famed steel forges may have benefited. Arabic manuscripts hint at water-driven trip hammers that could have rhythmically shaped Toledo's legendary blades without human intervention. The most tantalizing clues come from the Jewish quarter, where a 12th-century mikveh ritual bath was found connected to the clock system. Its filling mechanism wasn't just practical, it was programmed, using overflow channels to ensure the water reached exactly the required depth for religious purification. This hints at a broader integration of technology and tradition, where engineering served both mundane and sacred purposes. What's truly humbling is realizing how much we've lost. When Toledo's water clocks were dismantled during modernization, no one thought to document their inner workings in detail. Today, archaeologists piecing together fragments of clay pipes and bronze fittings are left wondering, were these the only automated systems, or did Toledo once boast hydraulic marvels that would make even modern engineers pause? As ground-penetrating radar reveals still buried channels snaking beneath the city, one thing becomes clear: this wasn't just a place where people lived. It was a city that moved to the rhythm of water, a living machine measuring time itself. High in the Andes, the stone walls of Olante Tambo hold a secret that makes compass needles dance erratically. Certain massive blocks in this Inca fortress city exhibit strange magnetic anomalies. Run a lodestone over their surfaces, and it twitches as if pulled by invisible forces. These aren't random quirks of geology. The magnetic stones appear deliberately placed, clustered near ceremonial spaces and along pathways that align with solstice sunrises. Were the Inca engineers aware of these properties? The precision with which they positioned these stones suggests they didn't just notice magnetism, they harnessed it, possibly as part of a grand celestial navigation system or even sacred technology lost to time. Walk through Olante Tambo's terraced heart, and you'll notice how every element serves multiple purposes. The agricultural terraces aren't merely stepped fields, they're a climate control machine. Their varying heights create microclimates allowing crops from different altitudes to thrive side by side, while the stone-retaining walls absorb sunlight by day and radiate warmth by night, shielding tender plants from frost. Water channels threaded through the terraces do more than irrigate. Their flow rates are calibrated to mineralize the soil, with certain canals lined with stones rich in phosphorus or potassium. This wasn't just farming, it was chemistry enacted in stone, but the real mystery lies in how the city's layout interacts with the landscape. Olante Tambo's main plaza aligns perfectly with the December solstice sunrise, while its monolithic gateway of the sun frames specific constellations during key agricultural dates. Even more intriguing are the echo stones, slabs positioned at points where shouts rebound with unnatural clarity across the valley. Some researchers speculate these could have functioned as an ancient communication network, with magnetic stones perhaps enhancing sound transmission in ways we don't yet grasp. Then there's the enigma of the unfinished Temple of the Sun, where multi-ton red granite blocks were transported from a quarry 6 miles away across the Urubamba River. How the prevailing theory involves elaborate ramp systems, but recent studies reveal something stranger. The transport path follows a ley line where Earth's magnetic field dips slightly. Could the Inca have used magnetism to reduce friction or align the stone's crystalline structures for easier movement? The quarry stones themselves show tool marks suggesting they were shaped by techniques that went beyond brute force. Modern experiments with the site's magnetic stones yield tantalizing clues. When arranged in specific configurations, they create localized distortions in compass readings, enough to throw off directional tracking by several degrees. Was this intentional? Inca road builders were known to adjust pathways by small angles at certain points, possibly correcting for magnetic variance. Or consider the Saywas, mysterious stone markers found along Inca trails that some believe functioned as astronomical and magnetic waypoints. Olante Tambo's stones might have been part of this vast navigational web, turning the city into a kind of terrestrial compass rose. What lingers isn't just the puzzle of how they achieved this, but why. Magnetic stones often appear near shrines to Illapa, the thunder god associated with celestial forces. Were these blocks seen as conduits between earthly and divine realms? As drone surveys now reveal buried stone alignments extending far beyond the visible ruins, one thing becomes clear. Olante Tambo wasn't just built upon the land, it was engineered to interact with it, blending physics and spirituality into something modern science is only beginning to decipher. Deep in the Andes Mountains, the stone corridors of Chavin de Huantar whisper secrets that defy ordinary acoustics. Step inside its labyrinthine passages, and your own breath might echo back at you from 3 directions at once. A phenomenon so unsettling that archaeologists believe the ancient builders engineered it intentionally. These aren't just random echoes, they're precise sonic manipulations designed to distort perception and transport visitors into an altered state of awareness. The most striking example lies in the Lanzon Gallery, where a narrow staircase leads to a monolith carved with a half-human, half-jaguar deity. Speak near this stone idol, and your voice doesn't just reverberate, it transforms, emerging from the walls as a chorus of otherworldly whispers that seem to emanate from the statue itself. What's truly remarkable isn't just the echo effect, but how it's achieved. The gallery's walls angle inward like a megaphone in reverse, funneling sound waves toward the listener from unexpected directions. Fluted ceilings scatter noise into fractal patterns, while ventilation shafts act as natural filters, amplifying certain frequencies while dampening others. Modern acoustic engineers have mapped these spaces and found something astonishing. The reverberation time, the span between a sound and its echo, matches the rhythm of a human heartbeat at rest. Was this coincidence, or were the Chavin architects crafting an auditory environment that synchronized with visitors' physiology? The purpose becomes clearer when you consider the site's role as a ceremonial hub. Pilgrims traveled for weeks to reach Chavin, often consuming hallucinogenic San Pedro cactus before entering its dark passages. Under such conditions, the disorienting acoustics would have magnified the psychedelic experience, making stones seem to breathe and carvings appear to move. Some galleries even feature carved stone tubes that, when blown into, produce deep resonances mimicking the roar of a jaguar, a sacred animal in Chavin cosmology. These weren't just sound effects, they were spiritual technology blurring the line between the human and divine, yet the acoustic mastery extends beyond ritual. The entire complex functions like a giant musical instrument. Strike certain stones in the Plaza Mayor, and they emit clear metallic tones reminiscent of a xylophone. Water channels running beneath the temple don't just drain rainfall, they're tuned to create rhythmic dripping sounds that echo through specific chambers during storms. Even the placement of sculptures seems calculated. One particular conch shell trumpet, when played from a niche above the circular plaza, projects its sound directly to a spot where standing waves create the illusion of multiple trumpets sounding at once. The lingering question isn't just how they built this sonic wonderland, but why they invested such effort in auditory illusion. Recent discoveries suggest the answer might lie in the very rock itself. Spectroscopy reveals that many of Chavin's stones contain high concentrations of magnetite, a mineral that can subtly influence brain activity in electromagnetic fields. Combine this with the precise sonic vibrations, and you have an environment capable of inducing trance states without any chemical aids. As archaeologists now use 3D sound modeling to recreate Chavin's lost acoustic landscapes, one thing becomes clear: this wasn't just a temple. It was a carefully tuned resonance chamber where architecture became a portal to the unseen, a machine not of gears and levers, but of vibration and perception, proving once again that ancient engineers understood forces we're only beginning to measure. Picture a city where streets aren't paved with stone, but with shimmering waterways where farmland doesn't spread across fields, but floats upon a lake. This was Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital that transformed a marshy island into a thriving metropolis of 200,000 people through an ingenious system of chinampas, the floating gardens that fed an empire. These weren't just rafts of soil, they were self-sustaining agricultural machines, their woven reed bases layered with lake sediment and decaying vegetation to create nutrient-rich plots that yielded up to 7 harvests per year, more productive than most modern farms. The secret lay in the chinampa's brilliant design. Willow trees planted around each plot's perimeter sent roots deep into the lake bed, anchoring the gardens while preventing erosion. Channels between the chinampas did triple duty, providing irrigation, canoe transport routes, and aquatic habitats that attracted nutrient-rich algae and fish. Farmers even cultivated insects on specially grown plants to fertilize crops naturally, creating a closed-loop ecosystem where nothing went to waste. But the real stroke of genius was how these floating fields stabilized the city itself. As the Chinampa network expanded, it gradually reclaimed land from the lake, forming a stable foundation for temples and homes where once there was only water. Tenochtitlan's water highways were equally sophisticated. 3 main causeways stretched to shore like spokes on a wheel, each with removable bridges that could isolate the city during attacks. Canals crisscrossed every district, allowing a single canoe to transport what would require dozens of porters on land. Spanish conquistadors described goods arriving faster here than in any European city. Fresh fish from the lakeside markets by dawn, exotic fruits from distant provinces by midday. The city even had an intricate waste management system where night soil from public latrines was collected to fertilize the chinampas, completing another sustainable loop. What truly astonishes is how the Aztecs managed water flow without modern engineering. The city sat in a brackish lake, yet residents drank fresh water delivered via aqueducts from Chapultepec Springs. A system of dikes and sluice gates regulated lake levels, preventing floods during rainy seasons while maintaining ideal conditions for the chinampas. Recent excavations reveal some causeways functioned as giant filters, their porous construction allowing tidal exchange to prevent stagnation while keeping saltwater at bay. Perhaps most impressive was how this aquatic machine sustained population density rivaling modern cities. By turning water into farmland, highway, and defense system all at once, the Aztecs achieved what seems impossible even today, a metropolis built not just near water, but of it. As sediment cores now show traces of ancient Chinampa agriculture beneath Mexico City's streets, we're left wondering what other hydrological secrets this lost machine city might still hold beneath layers of concrete and time. Beneath the honey-colored stone of Bath's Georgian facades lies an ancient network of engineering so advanced it would make modern spa designers envious. The Romans didn't just stumble upon these steaming mineral springs, they orchestrated them, transforming bubbling groundwater into a precision health machine. Picture the Great Bath itself, its lead-lined pool fed by a sacred spring that gushes over 1 million liters of naturally heated water every day. But here's what's truly remarkable. The Romans engineered the entire city to harness this resource with almost scientific precision. A sophisticated system of lead pipes, some still intact after 2 millennia, channeled the scalding water through public baths, private suites, and even underfloor heating systems that warmed villas throughout the settlement. The genius of Bath's design lies in its multi-layered functionality. The spring water, rich in dissolved minerals like calcium and sulfate, wasn't just for bathing, it was believed to cure ailments from gout to skin diseases. The Romans positioned treatment rooms at varying distances from the heat source, creating a gradient of temperatures for different therapies. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of sweat rooms, where steam was carefully regulated by adjustable bronze vents, and plunge pools fed by cold springs for contrast therapy. Even the famous temple of Suli's Minerva played a role. Its placement directly above the spring suggests rituals where offerings were lowered into the steaming waters, perhaps to amplify their healing properties through heat. Recent ground-penetrating radar has revealed even more subterranean secrets. A network of overflow channels suggests the Romans managed water pressure with sluice gates, preventing scalding accidents while maintaining constant flow. Intriguingly, some tunnels appear to divert water through underground chambers before returning it to the main pools. Could these have been early filtration systems, or perhaps spaces where minerals were concentrated for stronger treatments? The discovery of lead ingots stamped with Roman numerals hints at a maintenance system where sections of pipe could be replaced without draining the entire complex. But Bath's thermal engineering might extend beyond what's been uncovered. Medieval records describe vapor baths, where patients sat in wooden chambers filled with steam piped directly from the springs. Could remnants of these structures lie beneath later buildings? Even more tantalizing are 18th century accounts of listening stones, a specialized masonry that supposedly amplified the sound of flowing water, allowing attendants to monitor pipe integrity without excavation. If true, this would mean the Romans prefigured modern acoustic leak detection by nearly 2,000 years. What's often overlooked is how the city's layout amplified the spring's social function. The baths weren't just medical facilities, they were the heart of Roman Britain's most sophisticated leisure complex. Covered walkways connected the baths to exercise yards and lecture halls, while strategically placed vents in the caldarium hot room created convection currents that carried perfumed oils through the space. The entire design encouraged a seamless blend of therapy, gossip, and intellectual exchange, proving that the Romans understood wellness as a holistic experience long before the term existed. As modern thermal imaging reveals heat signatures of still undocumented underground channels, one question lingers: did the Romans leave behind even more sophisticated mechanisms waiting to be discovered? Perhaps the greatest lesson of Bath isn't in its visible grandeur, but in the invisible ingenuity flowing just beneath our feet, a reminder that the best engineering often works so seamlessly, we forget it's there at all. Carved into the cliffs above modern-day Dema, the ancient city of Myra hides a secret beneath its famous rock-cut tombs, a labyrinth of tunnels so extensive it's been called Turkey's underground highway. These aren't just cramped escape routes, they're wide enough for 2 people to walk abreast, with ceilings tall enough to prevent even the claustrophobic from feeling trapped. Some lead directly from the city's Grand Theatre to its Acropolis, while others snake toward the harbor, suggesting a network designed for rapid movement during sieges or invasions. But what's truly puzzling is the sheer craftsmanship. These passages aren't rough-hewn emergency exits. Their walls are smooth to a finish, their corners precisely angled, and in certain sections, niches carved into the stone hold the soot stains of ancient oil lamps, hinting at regular use over centuries. The tunnel's strategic placement raises intriguing questions. Why would a city need covert access between its theater and necropolis? One theory points to Myra's role as a major Lycian religious center. The theater's proximity to the cliffside tombs, some adorned with intricate reliefs of the dead feasting, suggests performances here may have blended entertainment with funerary rites. Imagine actors emerging from hidden tunnels during sacred dramas, appearing as if summoned from the underworld itself. Even more compelling are the acoustic tests conducted in recent years. Whisper a prayer in certain tomb chambers, and the sound travels through subterranean channels to emerge near the theater's stage, creating an eerie effect that could have been used in rituals. Yet practicality wasn't ignored. Myra's location made it vulnerable to pirate raids, and the tunnels would have allowed defenders to flank attackers or evacuate citizens silently. Some passages even feature clever dead ends that double as ambush points, where invaders could be trapped and overwhelmed. But the most startling discovery came in 2018, when archaeologists mapping the system found a branch leading not toward defenses, but to an underground reservoir. This wasn't just about escape, it was about survival. During prolonged sieges, these hidden aqueducts could have provided water while surface supplies were cut off. The real mystery lies in the tunnel's dual nature. While some sections are purely functional, others bear symbols of the Lycian moon god Man, their walls decorated with crescent carvings that align with celestial events. During certain lunar phases, moonlight filters through strategically placed shafts, illuminating hidden sanctuaries where no torches were ever found. Was this sacred geometry, military engineering, or both? The answer might lie in Myra's unique geography, a city where the boundary between the living world and the realm of ancestors was always porous, and where movement beneath the earth may have been as much about spiritual journeys as physical survival. As laser scans now reveal previously unknown chambers beneath the city's Roman-era agora, one thing becomes clear: Myra's builders didn't just carve tunnels. They wove secrecy into the city's very bones, creating a machine where every hidden corridor served multiple purposes: protection, ceremony, and perhaps even communion with forces beyond our understanding. Xi'an's ancient city walls stretch across the landscape like lines on a celestial blueprint, their perfect cardinal orientation aligning not just with earthly directions, but with the heavens themselves. This wasn't just urban planning, it was cosmic cartography in stone, where every gate, every boulevard, every intersection corresponded to stars, seasons, and the imperceptible rhythms of the universe. Walk down the city's central north-south axis during the summer solstice, and you'll find the sun rising directly over the massive Yongning Gate, its light flooding the imperial way with mathematical precision. The same axis points toward Polaris at night, turning the entire metropolis into a giant compass rose fixed to the North Star. The genius of Xi'an's design lies in how it translated celestial order into earthly governance. The city's grid divided space into symmetrical wards, each assigned specific functions: markets here, temples there, artisans in this quadrant, nobles in that, mirroring how ancient Chinese astronomers mapped the heavens into constellations with distinct purposes. Even the number of gates held meaning, 12 in total, aligning with the branches of the earthly zodiac and the months of the year. Passing through them wasn't just travel, it was a symbolic journey through time itself. But this cosmic blueprint wasn't merely symbolic. The alignment served practical purposes that shaped daily life. Farmers in surrounding villages used the city's shadow patterns to track planting seasons. When the noonday sun cast the bell tower's shadow due north, it signaled time for spring sowing. The walls themselves functioned as giant sundials. Their staggered battlements created moving shadows that marked hours with surprising accuracy. At night, certain gaps in the parapets aligned with key stars, allowing watchmen to track time by celestial motion rather than unreliable water clocks. The most fascinating aspect might be how this celestial grid influenced social order. Imperial decrees often referenced astronomical events. A comet appearing near the heavenly market ward could trigger economic reforms, while planetary conjunctions near the eastern gates might herald military campaigns. The city became a physical manifestation of the mandate of heaven, where earthly power derived from cosmic harmony. Even rebellion followed these patterns. Historical records show uprisings consistently began in wards associated with the rogue star asterism. Modern archaeology continues to unveil deeper layers of this cosmic machine. Recent excavations beneath the drum tower revealed a circular platform inlaid with jade chips representing major stars, possibly an ancient observatory where astronomers calibrated the city's alignments. Ground-penetrating radar has detected buried stone markers along major avenues that may have functioned as survey points for celestial measurements. Perhaps most intriguing are newly translated Tang Dynasty texts describing how officials adjusted street widths by minuscule amounts during repairs to maintain harmonic proportions tied to lunar cycles. What lingers today isn't just the physical structure, but the philosophy behind it, a world view where city and cosmos were inseparable. As satellite imaging now reveals previously unnoticed alignments between Xi'an's grid and distant mountain peaks, we're left to wonder, were these ancient engineers simply honoring the stars or constructing something far more ambitious, a terrestrial engine designed to harness celestial forces we've yet to comprehend? Carving downward into the heart of a mountain, the architects of Ellora didn't just build temples, they unbuilt stone, removing over 200,000 tons of rock to reveal sacred spaces hidden beneath the earth. Step into the Kailasa temple, and you're standing inside what appears to be a freestanding structure until you realize every pillar, every sculpture, even the intricate ceiling panels were all chiseled from a single, continuous piece of basalt. This wasn't construction in the traditional sense. It was reverse engineering on a monumental scale where artisans worked top to bottom, visualizing the finished temple inside untouched rock and carving until it emerged. The precision defies belief. In Cave 16, sunlight enters through a precisely angled shaft during equinoxes, illuminating a carving of Shiva for exactly 33 minutes, a duration sacred in Hindu cosmology. Nearby, the Dashavatara cave's pillars produce distinct musical tones when struck, tuned to ancient raga scales. Even the echoes here behave unusually, whisper a mantra in the Vishvakarma cave, and the sound lingers for an unnatural 8 seconds before fading, as if the rock itself were reluctant to release sacred words. These aren't accidental acoustics, they're engineered phenomena, suggesting the builders understood wave physics centuries before it was formally studied. But Ellora's true genius lies in its choreography of movement. The complex isn't a random collection of caves, it's a carefully sequenced spiritual journey. Hindu temples transition seamlessly into Buddhist chaityas, which flow into Jain sanctuaries, a physical manifestation of India's philosophical interplay. Pilgrims would descend through 3 distinct levels, the upper caves filled with vivid, dramatic carvings depicting cosmic battles, the middle levels meditative Buddha statues symbolizing enlightenment, and finally the Jain caves' austere perfection representing liberation. This downward path mirrored the soul's progression from worldly attachment to ultimate release. Hidden chambers deepen the mystery. In Cave 29, a secret passage leads to an underground pool where liquid mercury was found, possibly used in alchemical rituals or to create mesmerizing reflective effects during ceremonies. Another concealed room in the Indra Sabha contains a yantra, a geometric diagram etched into the floor that, when filled with water, creates prismatic light patterns during specific lunar phases. Were these devices for meditation, scientific experimentation, or something beyond modern categories, the most tantalizing clues come from the unfinished caves. Chisel marks on their walls reveal the sculptor's process. They worked inward from ceilings, leaving temporary stone bridges to support the structure until finishing touches allowed their removal. This method required visualizing the final product in 3 dimensions with zero margin for error, a mental feat akin to sculpting blindfolded. Even more intriguing are the grooves cut into floors, which some researchers believe channeled ritual substances like milk or honey in symbolic patterns during ceremonies. As laser scans now reveal networks of tunnels connecting supposedly separate caves, a startling possibility emerges. Ellora may have been designed as one interconnected machine, where sound, light, and movement worked in harmony to guide worshippers through multi-sensory spiritual transformations. The lingering question isn't just what rituals occurred here, but whether the caves themselves were active participants. Architectural mantras made solid, vibrating with intentions we're only beginning to perceive. Standing before the towering moai of Easter Island, it's easy to focus solely on their silent faces, but look down and you'll discover the real marvel. Deep grooves crisscross the volcanic rock like ancient railroad tracks, converging toward the island's sacred quarries. These aren't natural formations, they're the scars of a society that turned scarcity into innovation, engineering an entire landscape to keep their culture alive. The famous statues didn't just appear at their coastal platforms. They were transported, some weighing over 80 tons, across miles of rugged terrain without wheels or draft animals. Recent experiments suggest how teams using nothing but ropes, log rollers, and coordinated manpower have moved replica moai upright in a rocking motion, as if the statues were walking to their posts. But the true genius of Easter Island's builders lies in how they transformed limitation into opportunity. With no metal tools, they carved moai using harder volcanic rock as chisels. Without dense forests for timber, they devised sledges from the island's tough grass. Even the island's geography became part of the system. Statues were positioned along precise pathways that followed natural contours, minimizing effort while maximizing symbolic impact. Some researchers now believe these routes were more than transport corridors. They may have formed a ritual network, with each moai's journey representing a spiritual pilgrimage compressed into physical space. What's often overlooked is how the island functioned as a closed-loop cultural machine. The same quarries that produced the statues also provided stone for house foundations, tools, and even agricultural terraces. Broken moai fragments were repurposed into seawalls or garden borders, ensuring nothing went to waste. Even the island's infamous ecological challenges reveal ingenuity. When deforestation made traditional farming impossible, the Rapa Nui people developed lithic mulching, embedding crops with volcanic rocks to retain moisture and nutrients. This wasn't just survival, it was a society engineering resilience into every aspect of life. The most tantalizing clues come from the platforms themselves. Called ahu, these stone altars aren't random placements, they're precisely aligned to solstices and equinoxes. During the June-winter solstice in the southern hemisphere, the setting sun aligns perfectly with certain ahu, casting the moai's shadows across ceremonial plazas in patterns that may have marked the new year. Other platforms face the ocean at angles corresponding to ancestral migration routes or prime fishing grounds. The entire island seems to be a giant calendrical and navigational device, where every stone served both practical and sacred purposes. Yet the lingering question isn't just how they achieved this, but why they invested such effort in moving mountains literally. Some anthropologists propose the Moai walks were ritual reenactments of creation myths, where gods shaped the world through movement. Others see them as territorial markers in a complex clan system, where the act of transport demonstrated collective strength. What's certain is that Easter Island's people didn't just carve statues, they engineered a living system where geology, astronomy, and human labor intertwined to sustain culture against all odds. As new LiDAR surveys reveal hidden roads and ceremonial sites beneath the island's surface, we're left to wonder, were these silent sentinels merely monuments or part of a grander mechanism we've yet to fully decipher? Perhaps the Moai weren't meant to stand still at all, but to move, not just across land but through time, carrying the whispers of their makers into futures they could never have imagined. Rising from Peru's Soup Valley like an ancient orchestra of stone, the pyramids of Caral hum with secrets older than the pharaohs. This sprawling complex, dating back over 5,000 years, isn't just a collection of monuments, it's a carefully tuned instrument, where architecture and acoustics merge in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. Walk through its sunken circular plazas and you'll notice something eerie. Whisper a word near one of the stepped pyramids, and the sound doesn't just echo, it travels, carrying clearly across distances that should swallow speech. Archaeologists testing these effects have recorded sound waves bouncing off the angled stone facades with unnatural precision, suggesting the builders didn't just understand acoustics, they engineered entire structures to manipulate them. The most striking example lies in Caral's amphitheater pyramid, where a central fire pit sits aligned with vents and platforms in ways that would have amplified both heat and sound. During excavations, researchers found traces of burnt offerings containing marine shells and mineral pigments, materials known to produce distinct tones when heated. Imagine ceremonies where chanting priests, crackling flames, and singing stones created a multisensory ritual experience, transforming the pyramid into a giant resonating chamber. Even the city's layout plays into this sonic tapestry. The 6 major pyramids are spaced at intervals that correspond to harmonic frequencies, creating a landscape that may have literally vibrated with collective energy during gatherings. But Caral's genius extends beyond sound. The entire city is a study in geomancy, the art of aligning structures with natural forces. Its main axis points directly toward a distant mountain peak that marks the summer solstice sunrise, while irrigation channels follow underground water veins with uncanny accuracy. The builders even incorporated sacred geometry. The ratio between pyramid heights matches the golden mean, a proportion found in everything from seashells to galaxies. This wasn't just aesthetic, it was functional. Modern energy scans show certain plazas have unusually high electromagnetic activity, hinting that the stone arrangements might interact with Earth's natural fields in ways we don't yet understand. What truly sets Caral apart is how its design fostered community. Unlike later pyramid cultures that exalted rulers, this city shows no evidence of social hierarchy, no palaces, no warrior tombs, no storehouses hoarding wealth. Instead, its circular plazas and shared platforms suggest rituals where everyone participated equally. The pyramids weren't tombs or temples in the traditional sense. They were communal instruments, their stairways and platforms designed for collective movement rather than solitary worship. Even the city's famous quipus knotted cords used for record-keeping were found distributed across neighborhoods, implying shared knowledge rather than centralized control. The lingering mystery isn't just how Caral's builders achieved such sophistication, but why they directed it toward harmony rather than conquest. In a world where ancient engineering often served power, This city stands as a rare testament to collaboration, a machine not for war or wealth, but for weaving people, landscape, and cosmos into a single vibrating whole. As archaeoacoustic studies now reveal hidden chambers beneath the pyramids that amplify specific sound frequencies, we're left to wonder, were these structures designed not just to make music, but to be music-frozen harmonies in stone, waiting 5 millennia for us to learn how to listen? Beneath the waves off India's western coast, the remnants of Dwarka whisper a tale that blurs the line between myth and engineering. According to ancient Hindu texts, this was no ordinary city. It was Lord Krishna's celestial kingdom, a place of unparalleled splendor said to be protected by futuristic weapons and powered by otherworldly energy. For centuries, scholars dismissed these accounts as pure legend, until marine archaeologists discovered massive stone structures resting on the ocean floor, their geometric precision defying natural erosion. The submerged ruins reveal a grid of streets, fortified walls, and even what appear to be dockyards, all constructed from interlocking stones so perfectly fitted that not even time and tides have fully pried them apart. What's truly astonishing isn't just the scale of these ruins, but their strategic positioning. Dwarka's layout suggests a city engineered for maritime dominance, with deep water channels that would have allowed large vessels to dock safely regardless of tidal shift. Excavations have uncovered stone anchors weighing hundreds of pounds, some arranged in circular patterns that mirror descriptions of ancient harbor defenses in Sanskrit texts. Even more intriguing are the unusual triangular and trapezoidal stones found at the site, cut with angles so precise they suggest advanced knowledge of hydrodynamics. Were these designed to break waves, redirect currents, or serve some other purpose lost to history? The city's potential technological prowess deepens when you examine the artifacts. Divers have recovered metal objects with high percentages of zinc and chromium alloys uncommon for their era, known for resisting seawater corrosion. One particularly baffling find is a stone slab etched with what appears to be a star chart, its markings aligned with constellations as they would have appeared over Dwarka 3,000 years ago. Could this have been a navigational aid for sailors or something more esoteric? Local folklore speaks of celestial mirrors that once adorned the city's towers, capable of projecting light across the ocean to guide ships. Yet the most compelling questions surround Dwarka's sudden demise. Geological surveys show evidence of a massive tsunami that may have submerged the city around 1500 BCE, a date coinciding with the Mahabharata's account of Krishna's death and Dwarka's descent beneath the waves. But here's where science and myth converge. Core samples reveal layers of volcanic ash beneath the seabed, hinting at a cataclysm far more complex than a single wave. Could the city's legendary energy weapons, described in texts as fiery beams capable of leveling mountains, have been metaphors for volcanic or seismic activity? Or is it possible Dwarka's builders anticipated their doom, engineering the city to sink intact rather than be destroyed? Modern technology continues to unveil Dwarka's secrets. Side-scan sonar has mapped what appear to be concentric circular structures beyond the known ruins, matching descriptions of the city's fabled outer rings. Meanwhile, underwater robots have detected strange magnetic anomalies near the site's center, readings that defy conventional explanations but align with ancient accounts of a celestial core at Dwarka's heart. As each new discovery surfaces, the line between Dwarka the myth and Dwarka the engineered marvel grows thinner, challenging us to reconsider whether the greatest machines of antiquity were made of stone and metal, or of stories that somehow encoded truths we're only now learning to decipher. Prague's old town square seems frozen in time until the astronomical clock strikes the hour and its mechanical apostles whirl to life. But this medieval marvel isn't just a showpiece. It's the heartbeat of a city engineered to function like clockwork. Every alley radiating from the square follows a deliberate curve, not for charm but for crowd control. These streets were designed to funnel merchants toward markets at specific times, while discreet side passages allowed officials to monitor movement unseen. Even the clock's intricate dials serve multiple purposes, tracking planetary positions for astronomers, marking feast days for the church, and signaling shift changes for guilds with a precision that would make modern city planners envious. Look closer at the cobblestones beneath your feet, and you'll notice subtle grooves worn into the stone, not by random foot traffic, but by centuries of carts following timed routes. Records from the 1400s describe a wheel tax levied on merchants who arrived early, incentivizing deliveries to coincide with the clock's chimes. The city's Jewish quarter, tucked behind a maze of angled streets, had its own temporal rhythm, gates locked precisely at curfew using a mechanism triggered by the clock's weights descending. This wasn't just urban planning, it was social engineering through architecture, where every archway and stair step played a role in maintaining order. The real genius lies in how Prague's design harnessed natural forces. Certain streets narrow abruptly, creating wind tunnels that amplified the clock's bells across districts. Building facades were angled to reflect sunlight onto specific market stalls as the day progressed, a primitive but effective scheduling system. Even the Vieltova River played its part. Water wheels along its banks powered grain mills on alternating days, synchronized with the clock's moon phase indicator to maximize output during optimal tidal flows. Beneath the surface, the city's timing mechanisms grow even more sophisticated. Archaeologists have uncovered networks of hollow clay pipes running beneath major avenues. Originally thought to be early plumbing, their placement corresponds with historical accounts of singing streets, certain roads where the clock's chimes would resonate underground, emerging through grates to mark time in distant squares. Some scholars believe these acoustic channels may have doubled as a primitive public address system, with watchmen broadcasting warnings by stamping coded rhythms on designated manhole covers. What lingers isn't just admiration for medieval ingenuity, but a haunting question. How much of this temporal precision was meant to serve the people, and how much to control them? The same clock that regulated fair wages also enforced strict guild hierarchies. Those picturesque alley curves that prevented stampedes also made it easier to quarantine districts during plagues. Prague's stone chronicles whisper that the most brilliant machines aren't always built of gears and levers. Sometimes they're made of choices, carved into the very streets we walk. Rising from the Venetian plains like a geometric dream, Pomanova's star-shaped silhouette isn't just artistic, it's a lethal equation carved in stone. Conceived in 1593 as the ultimate Renaissance fortress, this nine-pointed city was engineered to turn mathematics into murderous efficiency. Every bastion, every radial street, every moat was calibrated to create overlapping kill zones where attackers would find themselves trapped in a crossfire of cannon fire from three directions at once. The symmetry wasn't for beauty, it was battlefield calculus, ensuring no blind spots for invaders and no wasted movement for defenders. The genius of Pomanova's design lies in how it weaponized geometry. 6 main avenues radiate from the central hexagonal piazza like spokes on a wheel, dividing the city into identical wedge-shaped sectors. This wasn't just orderly urban planning, it was tactical genius. During sieges, troops could mobilize from the center to any wall segment in equal time, while the identical layout meant every soldier knew every alley, even in smoke-choked darkness. The walls themselves are a masterpiece of angles. Each star point's triangular bastion was positioned so defenders could rake the next wall segment with enfilading fire, creating a deadly domino effect of converging artillery. Even the moat's width was mathematically determined to be exactly beyond the effective range of contemporary siege ladders, but Pomanova's influence extended far beyond warfare. Its concentric rings of defense from the outermost ravelins to the inner citadel became the blueprint for colonial cities from St. Petersburg to Valletta. Urban planners admired how its radial streets naturally funneled air currents, cooling the city in summer while preventing stagnant winter fog, a revelation at a time when most cities were pestilential warrens. The central piazza's underground cisterns, fed by cleverly graded streets that channeled rainwater into filtration chambers, inspired early municipal water systems across Europe. What's often overlooked is how the city functioned as psychological warfare. Its perfect symmetry was deliberately intimidating. Approaching armies would see an impenetrable geometric puzzle glowing in the sunset. The three monumental gates positioned at 120-degree intervals were designed to appear identical from a distance, forcing besiegers to divide their forces. Inside, the uniformity had another purpose. Every citizen soldier's home was equidistant from the armory, the walls, and the food stores, eliminating class distinctions that might breed dissent during sieges. This was social engineering as precise as its ballistic calculations. Modern architects still study Pomanova's legacy in unexpected places, the radial street networks of Washington, D.C. and Paris owe conceptual debts to its layout, while its zoning principles separating residential, military, and commercial sectors prefigured modern urban planning. But perhaps its most enduring innovation was proving that cities could be both machines for living and instruments of war, a duality that echoes in everything from nuclear bunkers to hurricane-proof metropolises. As drone surveys now reveal previously unknown tunnels connecting its bastions, we're left to wonder, was this star-shaped city merely a fortress, or a three-dimensional chessboard where every stone was a move waiting to be played? In the golden age of Timbuktu, knowledge didn't just sit on shelves, it was woven into the city's very walls. Imagine walking through the sandy alleys of this Malian marvel during its 15th century peak, where the homes of scholars weren't marked by grandeur, but by their unassuming secrecy. Ordinary-looking clay buildings concealed hollow compartments beneath their floors, false ceilings above their prayer rooms, and even tunnels leading to underground chambers, all safeguarding manuscripts that held everything from advanced mathematics to celestial maps. This wasn't just a library system, it was an intellectual bunker engineered to outlast wars, droughts, and the relentless march of time. The brilliance of Timbuktu's design lay in its decentralization. Unlike the great libraries of Alexandria or Baghdad, which concentrated knowledge in single vulnerable locations, Timbuktu's treasures were scattered across hundreds of private collections, each hidden in custom-built niches resistant to the desert climate. The manuscripts themselves were part of the architecture, some tucked between double walls packed with salt to absorb moisture, others sealed in cylindrical metal cases suspended in wells where the cool groundwater prevented decay. Even the ink told a story of innovation. Scribes used mixtures of gallnut extract and iron salts that chemically bonded with the parchment, creating texts that resisted fading under the harsh Saharan sun. But the real marvel wasn't just how these documents were stored, it was how they moved. During times of danger, a covert network of scholars and traders would activate what historians now call the manuscript caravans. Priceless works traveled in camel saddles modified with hidden compartments, or disguised as bundles of mundane trade goods, Some were even transported inside hollowed-out bread loaves, their contents protected by the very food meant to sustain their couriers. This system wasn't left to chance. It relied on precise timing, with lookouts stationed at the city's iconic Angkor Mosque, using its minaret not just for calls to prayer, but as a watchtower to signal approaching threats. The mosque itself was an intellectual machine. Its unusual pyramidal design, each level representing a stage of Islamic education, functioned as a living university. Courtyards were positioned to catch the desert breeze, funneling cool air into study rooms where students pored over astronomy charts. The walls, mixed with clay and scholarly manuscripts ash, were said to vibrate faintly during windy nights, creating a hum some described as the whisper of ancestors. Whether myth or acoustic phenomenon, this detail hints at how deeply knowledge was embedded in the city's physical fabric. What's truly astonishing is how Timbuktu's design anticipated modern disaster protocols. Families employed a generational key system where only one elder and one youth knew a collection's full location, ensuring survival even if catastrophe struck. Certain manuscripts were written in spiral patterns, allowing them to be quickly rolled into compact cylinders, while others used palimpsest techniques where older texts could be chemically revealed beneath newer ones if needed. This wasn't passive preservation, it was active intellectual engineering. Today, as conservators painstakingly digitize these rescued manuscripts, they're uncovering layers of hidden knowledge. Some pages, when held to ultraviolet light, reveal marginalia about medicinal plants or star navigation that earlier scholars deliberately obscured during perilous eras. Others contain intricate watermarks visible only when backlit, possibly serving as authentication markers during secret exchanges. The more we discover, the clearer it becomes. Timbuktu wasn't just storing wisdom. It was performing an 800-year-long experiment in how civilization safeguards its most fragile flame, not behind fortress walls, but dispersed like seeds in the wind, waiting patiently for the right conditions to bloom again. Even with satellites scanning from orbit and supercomputers crunching data, the true purpose behind some ancient city mechanisms continues to elude us. Take the recent LiDAR scans over Angkor Wat, revealing a sprawling grid of canals that form perfect geometric patterns, alignments so precise they can't be dismissed as coincidental, yet their full significance remains just out of reach. Or consider how ground-penetrating radar in Teotihuacan detected liquid mercury beneath the pyramid of the feathered serpent, a discovery that left researchers grappling with questions about ritual use, symbolic meaning, or even forgotten technological applications. The tools of modern archaeology are rewriting history in real time. AI algorithms analyzing pottery shards from Knossos recently identified a recurring symbol previously overlooked, a spiral pattern that matches the palace's labyrinthine layout, suggesting the Minotaur myth may have encoded architectural knowledge. In Peru, drones equipped with thermal cameras exposed hidden chambers beneath Carol's pyramids, where temperature fluctuations reveal hollow spaces arranged in harmonic proportions. These aren't just incremental discoveries, they're seismic shifts in understanding, proving that ancient blueprints operated on principles we're only beginning to decode. What makes these revelations humbling is how they expose the limits of our assumptions. For decades, scholars dismissed accounts of dwarkas, celestial mirrors, as poetic exaggeration until underwater archaeologists found polished copper plates positioned to reflect sunlight across the harbor. Similarly, the mathematical models governing Pomanova's star-shaped walls were once considered Renaissance theory, until 3D simulations proved their defensive calculations could repel cannon fire with 97% efficiency. Every breakthrough carries this same humbling lesson. Our ancestors weren't just building structures, they were engineering systems with layers of functionality we're still unpacking. The next frontier lies in interdisciplinary collaboration. Biochemists examining Myra's tunnel walls discovered traces of mineral deposits that vibrate at specific frequencies when exposed to sound waves, possibly explaining the city's legendary echoing corridors. Meanwhile, astrophysicists mapping Xi'an's celestial alignments found that its grid accounts for axial precession, a subtle wobble in Earth's rotation that takes 26,000 years to complete. How Bronze Age builders detected this phenomenon without telescopes remains one of archaeology's greatest enigmas. Perhaps the most tantalizing possibilities lie in what we haven't yet thought to look for. As quantum sensors begin probing Easter Island's magnetic anomalies and nanotechnologists analyze Damascus steel from Toledo's water clock mechanisms, we're entering an era where the boundary between ancient engineering and cutting-edge science blurs. The greatest revelation may be that these cities weren't just advanced for their time, they were designed with insights we're still struggling to recreate, waiting patiently in stone and soil for the right moment to speak again. From hydraulic systems that turned deserts into oases to celestial alignments that transformed stone into cosmic calendars, these 24 ancient cities stand as testaments to a kind of genius we're only beginning to measure. They weren't just built, they were programmed, their streets and walls functioning like gears in a grand mechanical symphony. The deeper we dig, the more we realize how much we've underestimated the vision of these early engineers who saw cities not as static places, but as living systems interacting with water, wind, and stars. Take the way Teotihuacan's pyramids mirror our solar system's proportions, or how Yazd's Windcatchers harnessed breezes to cool entire neighborhoods without a single watt of electricity. These weren't isolated feats, they were part of a global tapestry of innovation, where cultures separated by continents and centuries arrived at eerily similar solutions. The Nabateans carving water channels into Petra's cliffs and the Khmer engineers threading canals through Angkor's grid both understood something modern planners often forget. A city's survival depends on working with nature, not against it. What's even more remarkable is how these ancient designs continue to teach us. Modern architects now study Derinkuyu use passive ventilation for sustainable housing projects, while civil engineers analyze Mohenjo-Daro's drainage systems for flood-resistant urban designs. The magnetic stones of Olante Tambo have sparked new research into how ancient cultures might have manipulated Earth's geomagnetic fields, and Timbuktu's manuscript preservation techniques are inspiring digital archivists today. These cities weren't just ahead of their time, they're speaking directly to our future. Yet for all we've uncovered, the greatest lesson might be humility. Every time we assume we've decoded the full purpose of a structure like Carroll's sonic pyramids or Chavin de Huantar's acoustic labyrinth, new technologies reveal another layer of intentionality. Perhaps these builders weren't just solving practical problems, but encoding knowledge into architecture itself, creating stone libraries where every corridor and alignment holds volumes of untranslated wisdom. So what's next? With tools like quantum sensors and AI-assisted archaeology, we're on the brink of discoveries that could rewrite entire chapters of history. Who knows what revelations lie beneath the unexcavated chambers of Great Zimbabwe or the uncharted tunnels beneath Myra? One thing's certain: the more we learn about these ancient machine cities, the more they challenge us to rethink what's possible, not just in the past, but in the cities we're building today. If this journey through the world's most ingenious ancient cities has sparked your curiosity, let's keep the conversation going. Which of these marvels left you most awestruck? Is there a mystery you're dying to see solved? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want to explore more hidden wonders of history, don't forget to subscribe. After all, the next great discovery might be just one excavation.